This is part one of our practical guide to talking with skeptics about the climate and energy crisis. If you look at the conflicting headlines, for each fundamental question on climate change and energy dependence, you can find two completely opposite answers. Depending on who you choose to believe, you may be quite skeptical about the reality of the crisis, or you may think it's urgent to do more. If you belong to the second category, you may also be in information overflow with lots of facts in your head, but not quite sure which piece of information to use when you meet an objection from a skeptic. If this sounds like you, well, this guide is for you. It will help you navigate the information overflow, so we all get one step closer to agreeing on the inescapable issues to address. Objections come in many different shapes and forms, but they typically belong to a finite number of categories. The first category asks the following question: is global warming even real? You can get more skeptical than this. Let's do a little science here. A body isolated in space converges to a stable stage where it emits exactly as much energy towards space as it receives from it. Let's apply this to the Earth and the nearby atmosphere. The Earth receives all its energy from the sun and emits energy back to space as infrared radiation. And the natural tendency for the Earth is to radiate as much energy as it receives from the sun. A first good approximation, given the timescales we are looking at, is that the incoming energy does not vary, so the outgoing radiation also tends to remain constant. If we take a closer look at the troposphere, we can understand how the greenhouse effect makes this possible. So the greenhouse gases are, for the most part, transparent to incoming solar radiation, but they partially block the infrared emitted from the Earth. The energy blocked heats up the atmosphere and the Earth, and as they become hotter, they radiate even more energy, which gets partially blocked when trying to get in outer space, which heats up even more the Earth. So there is a cycle that takes place. The bottom of it is that the greenhouse effect delays the energy transfer from Earth to space, and it has a warming effect in the process, which is exactly what made life on Earth possible. Now, if nature is disturbed and if there is an increase of greenhouse gases concentration, the atmosphere blocks even more infrared coming from the Earth, and the basic cycle we just described remains the same, but there is even more delay. More cycles like this, and the temperature increase will go on and on until the infrared radiation that manages to escape to outer space becomes the same as before modifying the atmosphere. The increase of greenhouse gases concentration in the atmosphere is an observed fact. Nobody questions that. And with what we've just said, it's also a non-negotiable scientific conclusion that it will inevitably lead to an increase in global temperature at a later stage. So global warming is real. No matter what, some people will still think global warming is a scam, and we'll come back to these people later on in the guide. Let's assume we've made our point, and let's move on to the next category of objections. How can we be sure that global warming is man-made? For answers to this next objection, be sure to check happy2050.org. Thank you, and see you next time.